What's up, guys? It's Kevin Reardon with Hotel Accelerator. Welcome back, and today we got a special treat for you. We've got an awesome special guest. He was first a veteran, then he got into short-term rentals, and now he is getting into hotels. He's got a super interesting story that I can't wait to show to you and learn a little bit more about. Jeremy Wirths, how are you, brother?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on today and telling me a little about your story, and we'll talk a little bit about your hotel that you're going to be opening up here soon. But first, I thought I would just introduce you to the audience, go over and learn a little bit about your past, how you went from serving our country and then into real estate, short-term rentals, and now hotels. So let's just hear a little bit how you got there.
Yeah, so right out of high school, I got into public safety. I did that for 10 years. I had always wanted to serve, so at the young age of 28, I enlisted and spent 5 years in the Army, got out, went back to public safety because that's all I knew. Kind of going back, in 2009, I read the Black and Purple Bible, so the itch had always been there to get into real estate. Made the jump in 2019, got my license, started working with investors, focused on multifamily, and then once that kind of became the darling class and everybody wanted to get in, and deals were harder to find and returns were harder to get, I started looking elsewhere and then made the swap to short-term rentals. Did that, but then realized that, well, I knew, but reaffirmed and started focusing more on commercial hospitality and boutique hotels.
And where are your properties?
So I have one on a beach town in North Carolina, North Topsail, and the bulk of the portfolio of the short-term rentals that I manage and the hotel that we're going to talk about is in the North Conway area of New Hampshire, the White Mountains.
Out in the White Mountains.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that transition, how was that transition going from serving and then into real estate? What were some of the things that you learned just making that career transition?
They are entirely different. Going from public safety and especially the military where everything was very kind of structured and in place, and then going in, starting your own thing, you gotta set everything up as far as structure, SOPs and policies and all that.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually because like I came from a lot of structure as well, obviously going through that structured life path, but I was also an athlete at University of Maryland, and so I had for a very long time really structured regimen life. I knew I had this workout this time, had this block to do schoolwork or do whatever work I was doing at the point, and so I always had a coach or multiple coaches, tutors, and structure like all the way through college and a couple years after college, right? And then when I got into entrepreneurship and got into just life in general, you realize who tells you what to do, how do you make your systems, how do you like structure your day, how do you go about your business. So it's really interesting because like you went from the ultimate structure of knowing what to do, where to be, how to dress, how to act, and a code of conduct and like what you're supposed to do, and then you go into entrepreneurship and it's all that is like you have that, obviously you have the skills that you learned and you know you can do it, but like now you're opened up to, okay, now you have to create structure for yourself. So it's scary, it can be scary and daunting, it can be really difficult. But there's a lot of importance in like bringing maybe some new coaches and mentors and things, and that's been a shift I've had, and certainly yourself, right? Like you've joined, that we were just talking about before we jumped on, like you've joined different masterminds and things like to talk to people in the industry in real estate and learn from them and their communities.
That's right, yeah. There's 2 ways to learn. You can either do it yourself and learn over time, or you can accelerate that by leveraging other people's experience and knowledge. And yesterday, we're recording this just after the short-term rental wealth conference, and one of the things that Damon John said was that you have to leverage other people's minds.
OPM.
That's right.
Not just other people's money, but other people's minds.
That's right.
That was one of my favorite quotes, and the other quote that Damon John, who's a super successful businessman, Shark Tank FUBU, the other quote that I love that I took away from that to go along with exactly what you just said is Damon himself said, you can either learn 2 ways. You can either learn through mistakes or you can learn through mentors.
Yep.
And it's so true, and mentors is something that I wish I probably had earlier in my hotel journey, but now that I've gone through that and stubbed my toes and learned from a lot of mistakes, that may be able, better positioned to be able to help others. And obviously you're one of our clients and you work with us at Hotel Accelerator so we can help you, bypass some of the pain and things that we went through and get your hotel to the next level. So let's talk about that a little bit. I'm super excited to talk about the Aurora Hotel, which is in the mountains. Tell us a little bit about that property. How did you find it? How big is it? What is it like when you acquired it?
Yeah, it's in Bartlett, New Hampshire, which is just north of North Conway. It was on the MLS. I saw it hit and went under contract within 3 weeks. Not with us, with somebody else. And then, so I lost track of it and then found out that it had fallen out of contract. Myself and my partners went up and looked at it and thought it was exactly what we were looking for. A ton of value add, lots of potential. It's 18 keys over 5 buildings. You got the main inn, a converted barn behind that, a single unit cottage in front, and then you've got as you're facing the inn to the right of that, you've got a cottage split into 3 units with almost like a roadside motel, if you will, that has 6 additional units. An in-ground pool. We're planning on adding a bunch of amenities. And yeah, it was a complete value add between not only the physical property, but also operationally. It was time for the owner and the existing staff to move on. So.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, right? Because it's like a super unique property. It's out in the mountains. It's all kinds of different buildings scattered around a bunch of land and common amenities in the middle. So it's like very unique, and it's been a lot of fun seeing the ideas that you guys have had and collabing with you and thinking about the brand and what ultimately the hotel would look like. And so it was like pretty run down when you bought it, right? And yeah.
Yeah, aesthetically, structurally it's good, but yeah, aesthetically.
I mean, what were the reviews like? I feel like I remember Googling the property when you said, when we had connected and you said you bought it. It was like, I want to say it was some of the worst reviews I've ever seen.
Yeah, they were pretty bad. We did a handful of visits prior to closing, and every time I don't think I found one clean room. It was in rough shape, and then people booked it and just had a not enjoyable experience.
Yeah, and we always talk about, like, for our hotels and our clients' hotels that we work with, we always talk about one of our core values for our entire team is just be the best at like basics, right? So just clean rooms, clean linen, just an easy experience for the guest. And when you just can't even execute on that, it will kill a hotel business fast, especially in the age of social media and Google reviews and TripAdvisor, right? But in acquiring the hotel, what I think is super cool is like it has great bones, has a bunch of different really unique buildings, and it's in an amazing location. It's in the mountains. You have a ski lodge, which is like almost right next door. So for ski season, it's a 4-season resort. You can hike in the summer, ski in the winter. Obviously it has peaks and valleys in the occupancy throughout the year, but the mountains are super cool. And I feel like some of these properties that are set back off the beaten path, like the one that you guys just bought, I feel like it's becoming a bigger and bigger trend in hospitality now, because people are craving unique experiences, 1, and 2, getting away from the grid, getting outside. Like, how far are you guys outside of the city?
Which
like
city?
Boston?
Yeah, we're about 2.5 from Boston.
Yeah.
2.5.
2.5.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so you get people that will come out there. 2.5 is not a bad drive, and especially if you're coming out to something super unique and just getting into the wilderness and like reconnecting to nature. And I feel like it's interesting, like the new luxury, like the luxury in life is being able to get somewhere into nature and getting away from your phone, your TV, go for hikes, go swimming, go skiing, whatever it may be. And so the Aurora is going to be a super cool place to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what we're aiming to provide for our guests. But yeah, our area is, like you mentioned, 4-season. We're just north of North Conway, which is always on top 10 ski towns in the country on many lists. And then we're about 2 miles north of Attitash Ski Mountain. That's what you're referencing. But we're probably 15 minutes east of Bretton Woods, which is another ski resort, but that one is always on top 10 ski resorts in the country. So you've got two attractions within half an hour that are on top 10 lists.
Yep.
from national publications. That's why we love that area so much.
Yeah, and that's huge. And so just looking from an investment perspective, a real estate investment perspective, like I love these types of deals. And it's very similar to the first deal that I did, the first motel that we bought, which is, you found an asset that has great bones, has a great location, but the operations are run down, it's off the beaten path, and it just needs to be revived. And like you said, it's a complete value add to the building and then a value add to the operations. And those are the things that you do really well. And we see a lot of people, especially talking to a lot of people at this conference that we were just at in Nashville. There's a ton of short-term rental hosts, and I was one of them included. I did short-term rentals for 15 years before I got into hotels, and the skills translation is massive. Being able to, if you're running short-term rentals anytime in the last 5 to 8 years, you've learned how to build systems, how to manage remotely, how to use either third-party cleaning, hospitality services, or build those out internally. The best Airbnb short-term rental operators like yourself, or you know how to do those, you know how to deliver a high level of hospitality, and then it's just a natural transition to take that and to plug that into an asset like the motel that you just bought, and it adds a ton of value, not only by increasing the nightly rates, but also decreasing the percentage of revenue that goes towards your expenses, increasing the bottom line, right? Increasing the NOI. So at the end of this, whenever you guys decide to exit, first of all, the cash flow is going to be significantly improved from the cash flow when you bought the asset, right? And so you're going to get a much higher multiple, and when you go to exit this, your NOI is going to be significantly higher than when you acquired it, because you added value to the building, you added value to the operation, and you have strong demand drivers. You have, one, people want to come out to that location, out to the mountains. Two, you have some of the best skiing within 30 minutes. And so having that location, having the bones, and then having something that's a strong value add is a recipe to have a great acquisition and be able to create a great operation that will spit off good cash and also give you a good return at the end of the project. Yeah. When you guys acquired this, like, where did you, can you talk through the process of when someone's doing, because this is your first deal, right? So for someone that's doing their first deal, what was the process like, being like that oh crap moment that, like, okay, I just submitted an offer, it was accepted, now what?
Yeah, so I think the moment was when we got the okay. It was like exciting, but then it was like, all right, go time. Because you have those due diligence timelines that you have to meet. Yeah, it was, I think the biggest thing was making, financial was easy enough. The seller provided all the requested documents fairly quickly. And then the hardest thing, and I think it's fairly common in the smaller markets or more rural areas, is getting options of contractors. Yeah. And actually we're running into that still. So yeah, it was just getting options out there to provide quotes and then actually having them follow through. So
it's one of the hardest parts. I was actually just talking about that with Mastermind Group this morning. We were talking about that, which was, yeah, you can go out and find these 20, 30, 40 unit deals out in the mountains, out at the beach, in these off the beaten path markets. And yes, they can be extremely strong investments. However, even if you can get the deal, even if you know the operations, even if you can get the financing, these deals can be a total pain if you do not have familiarity with the market and the ability to get contractors, subcontractors into the property and be able to rely on them. It's a major pain point in my market for both new and experienced developers we're out the Jersey Shore with our properties. It's a major pain it's been a difficulty for you. And so for someone getting to their first hotel, I think that's something that's often maybe left to just as like an afterthought. However, how you were gonna actually, if assuming the property is going to need renovation, if you're doing a value add like this, how are you going to be able to get the property done, especially in the time frame that you want to get it done, so you can get the property back up and open and cash flowing? So it's a big area that people often miss as an afterthought, but need to be thinking about that upfront in addition to all the other things like having your plans, having your branding, having your architect, having your financing in place and all of that. So it's super cool. You decided to come up with the Aurora Hotel, the Aurora brand. How did you come up with that, and what does that kind of mean for your brand?
Yeah, so one of my partners, Janine, shout out to Janine. She was the one that came up with it, and I don't know exactly how she came up with it. She's certified in Feng Shui, so I think that played into it some, knowing the area, the vibe and the feeling. And she proposed it, and we were like, yeah, it's awesome. But it also fits because we're in the northern part of the state where you can see the northern lights, or the Aurora Borealis, which is actually, like this week, the next couple of weeks, it's supposed to peak. It's supposed to be the strongest in the last 10 years, or wow. I guess it goes in 10-year cycle. I don't know fully. Yeah. Gonna have to learn more about it since we are the Aurora now. But yeah, and then from there, we based our color palette and mood board and all that, and everything that you're helping us with off the name.
Yeah, and it was, you guys had a super great idea in making it the Aurora, and I think the Aurora represents for you guys exactly what you said. Obviously, it's true to the earth and what's going on and what you can observe from that area, but it just feels like it connects to your surroundings. It's a nice, clean name, and I think it works really well for a hotel. And in putting like the brand together, we've been thinking a lot about when you build these brands, you want them to really feel authentic to the building, to the physical space, through your social media, through your digital media, website, everything, and everything just feel authentic and natural to the actual environment and to the actual hotel as it was before you even touched it. And it's been really great to see how you guys are now implementing a connection to nature. You mentioned Janine is certified in Feng Shui, so like the rooms that she's been working on hard behind the scenes are really earthy and are balanced but are like super boutique-y, have lots of like original elements that you've left in place. So we love to see that. And a lot of what we've been working together with has been implementing that into the rooms, and then taking that and then creating a full brand identity for the hotel and for the organization, and taking that onto the website and to social media. And I know you guys will do all kinds of really cool stuff when that launches. And so it's been great to see how you guys have implemented that, and then it'll be really fun a year from now to see how the brand has taken off and how it's received by guests. But I already know, because you guys haven't diluted it, and you've been true. I've seen you guys developing this the last 6 months. You've been true to what the original brand concept was, and what the Aurora represents, what the existing property was, what the surrounding area represents, and how you guys have fused that all together. The essence of a boutique hotel like you guys have is just tell a story, and you're telling the story of the history of that property, of the area, of nature, and you're tying that all together. And I think that is why you're going to be able to raise your rates. That is why you're going to be able to increase your occupancy. And from a business perspective, it makes a lot of sense. And it's like your secret sauce, becomes your secret sauce to like why you guys are going to do so well. And like, how have you guys thought about that over the last few months? And just how have you been so intentional about keeping that front and center?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things you mentioned, being the translation or the transfer from the skills within the STR world into boutique hotel. It's one of the things that, as a good STR operator, you gotta think first and foremost, what's your guest avatar? Who do you want to serve? And then that really is the focus and the catapult for all decision moving forward. So we did the same thing when we were at the very beginning of this process. We were like, okay, who is it that we're going to serve? Who do we think is going to want to come to this property? Yeah. We identified that, and then that's been really the backbone of all decisions since then, between the color and design, and our colors and design and amenities and everything else.
Yeah, and that's so powerful, and I'm so glad that you guys have been in tune with that from the very beginning, and allowed us to be partners with you in helping flesh that out and put that into a package and make that a reality for the property. And So now you're going to be transitioning, right? You're going to be opening the hotel's opening in just hopefully a few weeks here. And you're going to be in a position where, okay, you've created this incredible experience, this incredible brand, and now you need to get it out there, because boutique hotels will often fail because yes, you can make a great service, you can make great product, a great experience, but if no one knows about it, then no one's going to come like Uncle Grant Cardone, Uncle G used to say, if no one knows you, no one can flow you.
Yeah, it was, and I think it was Jeff Usted, one of the speakers this week. He was either him or, I think it was him, but somebody had said that a brand without anybody knowing it is nothing.
Exactly.
You got to get the word out.
Exactly. Your brand becomes, your rooms and your experience becomes like your offer to the world, and now you get into the marketing and sales world where it's okay, now you take that and now you have to get attention. I follow Gary Vaynerchuk a lot, and he talks a lot about the attention piece, right? How do you get people to know you? Like marketing is just, the essence is just being known. So if you do zero marketing, then no one knows who you are other than yourself. And marketing can be a lot of different things. It can just be word of mouth. It can be paid promotion, organic promotion. It can be online, social media, referrals. These are all tools in the marketing toolkit. But until you start pulling those levers and using those strategically, then no one knows you and no one can flow you, right? You're not going to have sales. And the next big piece of this that we're working on together is, yes, traditionally in short-term rental world and also in the hotel world, how do people get to know you? Unfortunately, a lot of the marketing, or maybe there's a place for this, a lot of the marketing comes from online travel agencies, comes from Airbnb, Booking.com, Vrbo, Expedia. And that's how traditionally a lot of boutique hotels and certainly Airbnb or short-term rentals get their guests. But the real secret sauce in really driving a strong bottom line and getting that guest avatar that you talked about, like the ideal guest that you want to come to your property, the question becomes like, how do I get their attention and convert them into paying guests and sales and keep them coming over and over again and telling everyone in their network about what a great experience you had. And so that's the fun part that we get to dig into now with where we are in the hotel process and developing the Aurora, is thinking strategically about, okay, not only do we want people to obviously find us on the OTAs, and they will when they're specifically looking to come to these different ski resorts, come to the mountains in that area, but how do we go much broader and find our ideal avatar in Boston and surrounding cities and bring them out to the Aurora specifically for the experience that you've created, specifically for the really cool boutique rooms that you've created and the experience in the surrounding community from the Aurora. And it's like, how do you get those people there? How do you make them aware, one, and then two, drive them into the hotel and get them coming back over and over again. And so that's like the really cool thing. And that's how we think about it, right? Is like how you get that attention and how you convert that attention. And that's what we're working on now together in this process. Is we're about to open. We want to go out and find those people and bring them in. And there's different ways that we're working on doing that together. So one is going to be strategically using influencers or creators and how you do that, and work on those systems together and bring them in. Another being, how do we do organic social media, which is huge, right? How do we strategically use Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and post on there and create content? And then even what we're working on together is, when you create content, how do you do that? We have three ways that we can do it. One, you can do it yourself. Two, you can hire somebody to do it. Or three, you can have people like your guests or the influencers that you invite and have them do what's called user-generated content. And then you can repackage and repurpose that for your own social media. And third, for the attention and what we're working on, one of my favorite ways right now in the social media climate that we're in is using paid promotion, using paid Facebook ads, Instagram ads, to specifically find the people that you want and pay a little bit on the front end to your marketing budget. But on the back end, you're bringing in your ideal guests, you're keeping them coming back, having a good lifetime value of that guest, and the cost of acquisition is much lower than an OTA, right? So what we coach and talk a lot about is, when you're using Booking Group, Expedia, Airbnb, you're paying at like 18, could be 20% of your top line revenue to those companies. And so that's like a massive cost of acquisition. And so what we like to think about with the boutique hotels is okay, we've created that brand, we've created the experience, we've nailed all of that. Now, how do we bring our cost of our guest acquisition from 20% and bring that down like below 10%? Which if you can do that, you're a rock star and like you killed it. And like franchise hotels are not even, it can't do that because they have to pay brand fees, they pay OTA fees, they have to pay loyalty fees, all these things, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a real secret sauce in like creating incremental new profits in your business. And so it's really fun now digging in and working on these strategies to be able to do that. And the beauty of working together is, you know, when I did my hotels, I didn't know what I was doing. And so I've spent like money, good and bad money, all over the place. But now we're able to actually take systems and things that we know are working, have tried on other hotels, and just put them on immediately on day one, so that we know that we're actually driving attention and driving sales, because at the end of the day, we need to keep the lights on, we need to pay the bills. So it's exciting to be working on that process and going through the Aurora and making that happen. So what else would you like someone who is starting their first hotel, maybe thinking about transitioning from short-term rentals into hotels? You've done it now, you're a part of the hotel club now, which is super exciting. What would you want someone to know that's in where your position that you're in?
You can do it. Yeah. Just if you're thinking about it, do it. And yeah, bet on yourself.
Yeah, bet on yourself is huge, and just like breaking through any like limiting beliefs that this is too big. Some people might be thinking, I manage 1 to 5 properties right now, maybe single family properties, maybe they're co-hosting for other people, and it seems like a scary, maybe daunting, big jump to jump into the commercial world. But there's a lot of benefit into jumping into the commercial world, because now you have much more scale.
Yeah.
I forget how many properties are in your portfolio before, but now you're adding essentially 18 doors.
Yeah, and it's just, I can't remember if I said earlier, the beginning of my real estate journey was focused on multifamily, and it's just the same analogy that a lot of those type of investors, the long-term rentals, you can go get one single family home or a smaller multifamily, duplex, triplex, quad, or you can get a 10, 20, 50, 100 unit multifamily.
Yeah.
And it's the operations are essentially the same.
Yeah.
It's just more of.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna, the amount of effort that goes into whether it be acquiring or operating is not that much greater for the larger deals.
No,
the numbers are bigger. It's just extra commas and extra zeros.
Exactly. No, that's huge. That's one of the biggest points is that the incremental work is minimal, but the impact in terms of how much money you're going to make, right? And how much, what you're going to be able to do is much, much greater and amplified. So if, like you said, if you could do 3, 4, 5 doors, if you can do those transactions to get them and to manage them, you're going to absolutely do 18 doors. It's just a bigger number.
Yeah.
Right. But you can use the same systems, very similar systems, the same kind of lessons and things that you learned to get there. So I love what you said about, like, at that point, all you have to do is start. You have to go find the deal. How long did it take you to find your first deal?
So we were actually under contract on a different one. Seller was difficult, so we backed out during due diligence phase. So we'd been on the search for 6 months probably.
Yeah.
So fairly quickly, actually.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say 6 months is really not bad. It was well over a year for me to get my first hotel and then start rolling the snowball with hotels, right? So it's just know what you want and have patience, and then hold out to find the right deal, the first deal. Don't just say, okay, I want to do hotels and buy something that doesn't make sense. Like, when you have the right deal, it's the right deal, and then you keep moving forward. Although I will say sometimes you have to know what is fear and what is, this is a bad deal, right? Because I don't know if you experienced this, but sometimes when you're looking at deals, you'll be convicted that, okay, this is a good deal. You put an offer in on the Aurora and you're like, okay, we're moving forward, we're doing this. Then your brain starts creeping in at the very end, and it can easily be like, oh no, like closing is in a week. Do I really want to do this? Like you get your fear response starts triggering because it's, okay, this is not safe. So maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Then you start talking yourself out of the deal. Yeah. I don't know if you experienced that, but I've felt that multiple times before. And you have to know what is just like a little bit of stress and fear, and then what is like warranted doubt about doing a deal like this.
Yeah, I haven't experienced that yet. One thing I try and keep in front of mind is it comes down to the numbers. So as long as you are confident in your numbers and you trust the numbers, then
exactly, and that keeps you disciplined. And that's probably something that you brought over from your regiment, military and stuff. It's if you did your diligence, if you ran your numbers, if the data says that this is a good deal and you know what you're doing, which you already know you're doing because you came from short-term rentals, then you just stay the course and you just follow the plan. And you don't let that brain, let that little amygdala that like wants to keep you safe and talk you out of doing things. You just stay the course and see it through. And so it's super exciting now. The Aurora Hotel, I've been seeing this thing come along for the last 6 months, and we're only like a few weeks away to getting it open and showing it off to the world. It's going to be super exciting. We wish you guys the best of luck, and we can't wait to see where this grows into over the next decade.
Yeah, thank you. We're getting more excited as the days count down till we actually get going, and looking forward to continuing to learn. I've already learned a ton from you and Julia, but just continuing to learn and working together. So
awesome. I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
It's Jeremy Wirths. He's got the Aurora Hotel. Check it out on Instagram, on his website. What's the website?
TheAuroraInn.com.
AuroraInn.com. I'm Kevin Reardon with Hotel Accelerator. We'll catch you next time.